Sungwoo turns to Jinseok and asks if he has anything to say, but Jinseok hesitates, unsure of how to respond. Meanwhile, the other students start whispering among themselves, commenting on how Jinseok always brags about being strong, even though he isn't as tough as he claims. As the group steps outside, Sungwoo's skeletons take the lead, scanning the area. Hanho, looking around nervously, remarks that everything feels too quiet, and Jisoo agrees, adding that she doesn't see any signs of monsters. Sungwoo reassures the students, telling them they are now in a safe zone but reminding them to stay quiet as they move. As they walk across the campus, the atmosphere becomes grim. Several dead bodies lie scattered across the area, sending chills down their spines. The students start to panic, wondering aloud what they should do. Staying focused, Sungwoo explains that the goblins usually travel in groups and might be hiding somewhere nearby, urging everyone to remain cautious. Suddenly, Hanho spots a group of survivors in the distance, and they all cautiously approach. Sungwoo observes the group and concludes that these people must have fought off the goblins to survive. At that moment, Jinseok recognizes the leader of the survivor group and excitedly exclaims that it's the president of the student council. He marvels at the president's ability to survive and expresses how lucky they are to run into him. However, Jisoo's expression darkens as she notices the president, clearly unhappy to see him. Meanwhile, Jinseok leans in close to the president, whispering something that appears to be about Sungwoo. The president steps forward and introduces himself to the students as Park Disung, the student council president. With a composed demeanor, he addresses the group, acknowledging that they must have endured difficult times. He adds that he, too, has faced similar struggles, but then reassures them by saying they will be safe if they decide to join his group. Noticing Sungwoo's skeletons, Disung curiously inquires about them. Sungwoo calmly explains that they are part of the job card he selected. However, Disung responds with a mocking tone, suggesting that Sungwoo chose monsters that kill humans. Sungwoo quickly picks up on Disung's intention. He's subtly trying to paint Sungwoo as a threat to the group. Disung then goes a step further, declaring that if Sungwoo wishes to join his group, he must destroy the skeletons. Sungwoo firmly refuses, prompting Disung to sneer and question whether Sungwoo plans to keep his unidentified and disgusting monsters around them. His remarks spark irritation in Hanho, who, despite agreeing that the skeletons do look a bit unsettling, suddenly comments that they are actually kind of cute. To everyone's surprise, this seems to brighten the skeleton's mood. Embarrassed, Sungwoo quickly tells Hanho to stop, bringing the awkward moment to an end. Sungwoo calmly responds to Disung, explaining that he cannot destroy the skeletons because doing so would be the same as giving up his weapons. He then poses a question to Disung, asking if he could move around safely without his own weapons. Disung dismissively replies that as long as the skeletons are there to protect Sungwoo, it shouldn't be a problem. Pressing the issue further, Disung offers what he calls a final chance. He declares that if Sungwoo truly wants to join his group, he must destroy the skeletons. Before Sungwoo can respond, Jisoo steps in and interrupts. Her voice is sharp as she asks Disung if anyone even said they wanted to join his group in the first place. She then adds that everyone in the student union is toxic, making her disdain for them unmistakably clear. Disung looks at Jisoo and asks if she's the president of the Social Physical Education Department. Jisoo bluntly replies that she isn't and adds that with the school now destroyed, it doesn't even matter anymore. Trying to maintain his composure, Disung tells her to calm down and suggests she join his side, warning her that she'll regret it later if she doesn't. However, Jisoo doesn't hold back. She calls him a hypocrite and openly accuses him of being deceitful. She goes on to expose his past actions, revealing that he embezzled student membership fees during a festival by forging receipts. To make matters worse for Disung, she mentions how she reported his wrongdoing on the university website. Her accusations clearly strike a nerve, leaving Disung visibly embarrassed as her words echo in the air. Unable to defend himself further, Disung dismissively tells Sungwoo and his team to leave. As they turn to walk away, he shouts after them, saying they'll regret it. He argues that it's better to stick together to benefit from the synergy effect, and warns them that traveling as a small group will only lead to their demise. As Sungwoo and his team continue walking, he glances at Jisoo and asks if she has a personal problem with Disung. Jisoo doesn't hesitate to answer. She tells him that Disung is a terrible person who has been wandering around the campus trying to pick up girls. She reveals that he also betrayed some of her juniors, adding that while he may hold some fancy title, his true nature remains rotten. Hearing this, Hanho becomes visibly angry, his frustration with Disung's behavior boiling over. Sungwoo then says their first mission is to avoid the campus building, and Jisoo says to escape. It is better to avoid crowds as it seems the monsters are attacking places where people are crowded. Sungwoo then suggests taking the path by the hill to escape the campus, reasoning that fewer monsters would be present in that area due to low human activity. As they proceed, Hanho comments that the place is so quiet which gives him a bad feeling. Sungwoo suddenly tells them to stop and the group encounters an enormous orc holding a huge axe. Hanho frighteningly points out that the monster is bigger than the goblin boss they faced earlier, and Sungwoo reasons that after the goblin comes the orc. The orc lets out a loud roar as it sees them and charges at the group, but instead of being intimidated, Sungwoo feels a surge of excitement, reasoning that a new skeleton ingredient has appeared. As the orc charges, showing no sign of stopping, Sungwoo tells the others to move out of the way, and they all scramble to move away. Hanho falls to the side and asks how such a crazy thing can exist. The orc charges again, and this time it attacks Jisoo. She quickly raises her sword to deflect the attack, but the orc attacks her again. One of the skeletons intervenes, pushing her away, and takes the hit instead of her. The orc attacks again, and Sungwoo tells the skeleton to block the hit. The skeleton does this, and it perishes right there. A one-armed skeleton warrior attacks the orc, and the orc receives massive damage because of the effect of 88 blade damage of the one-handed sword. Sungwoo then calls on Jisoo, telling her that they should go on flat land for a while. As she joins the others, Jisoo wonders how the skeleton is able to inflict wounds on the orc in one attack. Sungwoo warns the group to stay far from the orc, emphasizing that they need to approach this battle with the same strategy they used against the boss. Without wasting time, they flee into the forest, leading the orc to follow them. As they run, Sungwoo urges everyone to stick to the plan, explaining that they'll sacrifice his skeleton goblins first. He reminds himself to manage his mana carefully, noting the abundance of goblin corpses in the area that he might need to use. The orc charges into the forest with relentless aggression, but Sungwoo observes that its destructive rampage is less effective in the dense forest terrain. Once inside, the skeletons surround the orc, ready to attack. Hanho takes the initiative, hurling his knife at the orc to provoke it. Following his lead, the skeletons launch their assault, throwing knives and striking at the beast. However, the orc deflects some of the knives and retaliates, smashing through several skeletons with its overwhelming strength. After a heated struggle, two skeletons manage to grab hold of the orc's arms, temporarily immobilizing it. Seizing the opportunity, Sungwoo and Jisoo rush forward, each armed with a sword. They work together to slash at the orc's legs, severely weakening it. In a decisive moment, Sungwoo delivers a powerful strike that severs one of the orc's arms. Finally, a skeleton warrior ends the battle by driving a sword into the orc's neck, bringing the beast down. A system notification appears, informing the group that they have earned 110 gold for defeating the orc commander. Sungwoo is momentarily surprised, realizing the orc was a commander, a rank stronger than a regular orc. Jisoo observes that the orc felt weaker than a boss, and Sungwoo concludes that their teamwork was the key to the relatively smooth victory. With the fight over, Sungwoo attempts to turn the orc commander into one of his skeleton minions. However, he fails, and the system informs him that his current level is too low to revive medium-sized monsters. Sungwoo summons new skeletons, and he asks Jisoo what card she chose. She tells him that she chose the specialized hunter card, and she explains that she chose it because it had her favorite color. But it turns out it is a 3-star profession. Hanho realizes that he is the only one with a 1-star profession, and Sungwoo says since he has collected enough mana, he should test out his new skill. He uses his Great Bone Weapon skill on the dead orc commander, and the system gives him a list of low-level bone weapons that he can make. Sungwoo decides to go with a blunt weapon since it has a higher level, and 5 bone hammer-like weapon appears. He equips his skeletons with the bone weapons to reach a 5-member synergy with the same weapon to get extra buffs. He gives the sword of the one-armed skeleton warrior to Hanho, which makes Hanho happy, but Sungwoo tells him that he is lending him the sword and he will tell him when to give it back. Sungwoo reminds Hanho of how good the one-armed warrior's synergy was, but they cannot let Hanho lose an arm. As they continue to walk around, Sungwoo warns them to look around as they are almost at the school entrance, but Hanho shows him the state of the cars moving outside the school. Sungwoo looks up to see a system message at the school entrance saying the entrance is sealed, and they need to defeat the boss monster within 8 hours, and if they fail to do so, the monsters in the area will grow even stronger. As they are still struggling to accept this, a message pops up in front of them saying that the orc unit is beginning their hunt, and they need to choose a suitable location to fight them. The system informs them that orcs mostly use their sense of smell to track prey, and the more stronger the prey, the more warriors the orcs will send. Hanho starts trembling as he wonders if the orcs will catch them, while Sungwoo wonders how many orcs will be sent to them if the orcs send more warriors to a stronger prey, and Jisoo points out that their being together might be a disadvantage. Meanwhile, the orcs attack the other students in Disung's group who seem to have caught the attention of the orcs due to their large number of survivors, and Sungwoo's team hears their screams. Sungwoo realizes that sticking together is not always a good choice, and what is important is the most effective synergy. The system notifies them that the first attack will begin, and they will be facing 5 orcs. Hanho starts panicking as the orcs appear at a distance and start searching for them. He asks Sungwoo what they should do. After a while, Sungwoo says he has an idea and they should prepare a trap by using their environment and the skeletons. As the orcs approach the cars, Hanho taunts them, calling them oversized pigs in a hurry. This enrages the orcs and prompts them to charge at him. But as soon as the orcs get close to the abandoned vehicles, the skeletons launch a surprise attack with their clubs, knocking the orcs out due to the synergy effect of the weapons. The group swiftly finishes off the incapacitated orcs, earning 231 gold for defeating the 5 orc hunters, along with an additional reward of 100 gold for overcoming the first wave of ambushers. Sungwoo reaches level 4, and he gets a random card that increases his maximum skeleton count by 2. Allowing him to control up to 7 minions at once, although his mana capacity remains at 50. Hanho also gets a skill which is called Hypersonic Cut, but it is only usable with a dagger, while Jisoo gets a strength card that increases her stats by 2 points. She says she feels different as her body feels hot, and it really feels like her strength has increased. Sungwoo tells Hanho to give him back the sword. He explains that if Hanho wants to utilize his skill, he will have to keep using a dagger, and Hanho reluctantly returns the sword to the one-armed warrior skeleton. As they proceed, they spot several orc warriors attacking a bus. Sungwoo realizes that there are 7 orcs, which means there are fewer people in the area. They watch as the students in the bus try to fight back with spears, but it is clear that they are struggling. Sungwoo says they will die at that rate as it looks like all they have is one person defending with a spear through the window. Jisoo says they should help the students, and if they slip in and attack from both front and back with the students, they can easily defeat the orcs. Sungwoo thinks for a while, and he asks if the bus passengers will come out to fight too. He says they cannot assume that everyone is the same in the situation since they are already afraid. He says they should show the orcs the power of civilization, but before they can take action, one of the orcs breaks the side window of the bus. Meanwhile, inside the bus, 2 individuals, one wielding a spear and the other a shield and sword, are desperately holding off the orcs. The one with a sword yells at the other to attack the orcs properly with his spear, and the other, Lee Jong-soo, replies that if he is frustrated, he should fight the orcs with his sword and shield. The others in the bus are already trembling in fear and crying that they do not want to die. But suddenly, a car carrying goblin skeletons crashes into the orcs, and the skeletons begin a brutal assault. Jongsu watches in shock, and the bus passengers join him. But they mistake the skeletons for monsters even worse than the orcs and are startled when Hanho bangs on the bus door, urging them to open the door. After killing all the orcs, Jongsu informs Sungwoo's group about a machine that allows them to purchase items using gold obtained from defeating monsters. He says they have tried it, but they only did it once since they do not have much gold. But if they follow the instructions, the machine gives them an item. The machine shows a screen to welcome them and says it is the E-Class shop, and they should press any key to continue. Sungwoo reluctantly presses a key, and the shop tells him to pick the roulette of luck. It offers 3 options, which are bronze, which costs 100 gold, silver, which costs 1,000 gold, and gold, which costs 10,000 gold. Hanho asks Sungwoo if it is true that an item will drop, and Jisoo points out that a knife can fall from the air, so anything is possible. Sungwoo also says he will know if he tries it himself. Hanho says he has 360 gold, while Jisoo says she has 584 gold, so they can only afford the bronze roulette option. They ask Sungwoo how much gold he has, and he replies that he has 1,552 gold. Hanho is surprised and points out that Sungwoo can spin the silver roulette, but he also has an unlimited ranked roulette ticket he obtained earlier at the college building lobby. Sungwoo selects the gold roulette option, and thanks to his luck, he wins a first-place item called the Sea Spirit's Tier Legendary. This item increases his total mana by 200 and boosts recovery speed by 200%. Hanho says it is a great prize and says Sungwoo should spin the silver roulette. Sungwoo also spins the silver roulette using 1,000 gold and receives a second-place item called the Vanguard Shield. Jisoo earns a second-place sword in the bronze roulette called Leader of the Expedition Force, while Hanho gets a C-rank potion bundle. Hanho feels sad and wonders why he got such an item, and Sungwoo tries to cheer him up by saying it may increase his life. Jisoo points out that the playground, which is where Disung and the remaining students are, is still filled with orcs, and they should go to help. Hanho also says they should go to help them, and Sungwoo says they should go with something bigger. Meanwhile, Disung's group is still fighting orcs at the playground. Disung tells the students to gather together, and he will make a safe path for them. A student reminds him that there are some students stuck on the other side, but Disung yells at him to ignore them, asking if he thinks they have the time to pay attention to those students. He then tells Jinseok and other students with shields to get to the front and guide them from the orc attacks. Suddenly, a bus arrives and hits the orcs out of the way, and the bus is driven by Jongsu the spearman, who is pleased to earn gold for each kill. Hanho and the skeletons also eliminate some orcs by throwing knives. Jongsu stops the bus near the students, and Sungwoo tells them to board, but they hesitate, wondering if they can trust him. An orc runs towards them to attack, but Jisoo intervenes, saying she will not let it off easily. The orc tries to attack her with a huge axe, but she stops the attack with her sword. She reasons with a smirk that she is now able to hold on, and she is no longer broken by force. She then slashes the orc, which bursts into flames due to the fire whetstone she obtained after defeating the campus building rooftops first boss. The remaining orcs are swiftly killed by Sungwoo's skeletons in an efficient manner, and Jisoo reasons that it is going exactly as Sungwoo planned, as the skeletons are using the non-stop movement and throw attacks while maintaining distance planned together with the contained attacks and roll distribution that do not allow anyone to escape. She reflects that she, who invests in strength, is weaker than the orc, and that makes her feel like an idiot. After the battle, Disung and his awakened friends attempt to board the bus, but Sungwoo blocks them, reminding them that they said they did not want to be with his skeletons. Disung smiles, asking if Sungwoo is not being too cruel to be holding grudges at the moment. But Sungwoo corrects him that he saw Disung running away and leaving other students behind. Disung protests that he was just retreating to overhaul, and Sungwoo says he wonders if the people in the bus think the same way. They are interrupted by a roar, followed by a notification that the chief orc is enraged by the failed hunt. And this makes Sungwoo feel uneasy. He tells Disung's group they can join if they agree to follow his orders. Jinseok asks Disung what to do and Disung swallows his pride saying they do not have a choice. Disung prepares to board, but Sungwoo tells him to take off his chain armor. Disung protests, asking how he can protect himself without it. To which Sungwoo responds that he'll provide protection. And the chain armor is a small price to pay for his safety, as unlike Disung, they are not a group that dedicates themselves to the students. The system notifies Sungwoo that he is now at level 5 and can awaken medium-sized monsters in his team, and he wonders if that means he can now awaken orcs. He chooses a skill card that allows him to summon 2 additional minions, increasing his total to 9. Sungwoo gives the chain sword to his oldest minion, the one-armed skeleton, whom he has nicknamed Righty because he only has a right arm. But Righty struggles to wear the chain sword. As Sungwoo adjusts the armor, Hanho mentions that they might need another bus to rescue more survivors, but Sungwoo dismisses the idea, saying they will not keep moving around. He then addresses the survivors that they will soon be fighting the orcs, as the orc chief is enraged and has decided to launch an all-out war against the humans, unlike the previous wave-based attacks. He explains that there is no way to avoid them because they have to kill the boss in order to exit the school. One of the survivors breaks the silence, revealing he saw over 100 orcs in the gym. This frightens the other students, causing some to lose their will to fight and receive penalties. Sungwoo reflects that even if the number of orcs is up to 100, they have already fought against some, so it should be a lot less. He tells the students that he will fight the orcs alone, as he reasons that having a weapon does not mean it will be useful. Jisoo and Hanho are shocked, and they ask Sungwoo what he means, but he says again that he will fight the orcs alone. The other students also murmur among themselves, wondering who Sungwoo is, and if they can trust him. Meanwhile, Disung and his followers mock Sungwoo. Even Jinseok says he knew Sungwoo would dig his own grave by acting so high and mighty. Disung assumes that Sungwoo's previous successes were just luck, and he says he will be happy if Sungwoo dies from the quest. Jinseok agrees with him, saying Sungwoo is a pathetic guy and he will probably give up on his life soon. Jisoo expresses concern, asking Sungwoo what he is saying and noting that there is no guarantee that they will win even if they all fight. Sungwoo reminds her that when they went to beat the boss on the first floor, she said attacking all together might not work and that there are people who are worth less than his skeletons. Jisoo stares in bewilderment and Sungwoo goes on to say she was right, and although she and Hanho were a great help, he feels the upcoming battle is too dangerous for them, and he has thought it through before deciding on it. Jisoo reflects that Sungwoo had always gone into a fight after thorough calculations, but the fight is just too dangerous. After escorting the survivors to a safe building, Sungwoo heads toward his next destination with his skeletons prepared to fight while Hanho, Jisoo, and Jongsu watch from the bus. Hanho is still worried, but Jisoo reassures him that if it looks bad, they can just go to pick him up. Jongsu also says he will prepare to step on the acceleration. They spot a large group of orcs led by a red-haired, enraged orc charging toward Sungwoo and his skeletons. Sungwoo wonders if the red-haired is the boss, but as a message did not pop up, he concludes that he must be a mid-boss or something similar. The red-haired orc commands the others to attack, and Sungwoo takes a defensive position on a narrow staircase, where the orcs can only approach one at a time, making it easier to defend as the space is narrow. Prepared to fight, Sungwoo tells his skeletons that it was fun with them, and they should not forget him even when they turn to dust. As the orcs advance, Sungwoo activates his bracelet skill, Berserker, which grants him and his minions a 10% attack boost and a 20% speed increase against all goblin-type enemies for 10 minutes. His skeletons start throwing knives, quickly taking down the orcs, though the red-haired orc blocks the attacks. Sungwoo orders his skeletons to switch to melee combat using bone hammers, but they are soon overwhelmed by the red-haired orc. Watching his comrades fall, Righty becomes enraged, but Sungwoo restrains him, saying it is not his turn yet. Sungwoo then resurrects the dead orcs to replace his fallen skeletons, reasoning that it is the debut battle of an undead orc. These resurrected skeleton orcs gain a weapon synergy buff due to their shared axe weaponry. Sungwoo commands the skeleton orcs to kill the remaining orcs, and the fight resumes. Even when some skeleton orcs fall, new ones are resurrected to take their place. As the fight continues, Sungwoo reasons that even if they fight head-on, even if they bleed, they never tire as they are armies born from death. With a smirk, Sungwoo reflects that this is the battle of a necromancer. The survivors watching from the building windows are amazed by the onslaught of orcs led by Sungwoo, and they wonder who he is. His party members, observing from the bus, are also thrilled by his performance, and Jisoo realizes that Sungwoo really did calculate everything. Meanwhile, Sungwoo is impressed by the effects of his new legendary item, Tear of the Sea Spirit, which boosts his total mana by 300 and his mana regeneration by 200%. As the remaining orcs continue to hold their ground fiercely with the help of the red-haired, Sungwoo orders Righty to join the fight. Righty quickly runs to their midst and dispatches the remaining orcs, earning Sungwoo a new roulette ticket for slaying 100 monsters. Sungwoo discovers that he is the 21st person to achieve this milestone, which elevates his rank to infinite status, a rank limited to only 100 individuals. Sungwoo notices a group of fools attempting to crash a bus into the main gate, while elsewhere, School President Disung's group is being kidnapped by some orcs. They call out for help and Sungwoo reluctantly heads toward their location to rescue them, reasoning that they are only making things worse. This triggers the other awakened individuals watching him, and they follow him ready to fight, saying they won't get in the way and they can protect themselves. Sungwoo reasons that fighting alone is easier for him, but he tells them not to get in the skeleton's way. Inside the building where Disung's group is held captive, the place looks dark and the room is also littered with the corpses of other monsters. They encounter an orc, who appears to be the new boss, and Sungwoo warns everyone to prepare, but Disung and his henchmen are in dire situation. Sungwoo reflects that at least Disung and his group are not dead yet, but it comes as a surprise to him that the orcs are intelligent enough to take hostages. Disung begs Sungwoo for help, but Sungwoo reminds him that they caused their predicament, so they should be prepared to die. He then says he will not promise to save them all since he is not a great person like that, and the opponent is a monster that he cannot converse with. As Sungwoo's party charges the orcs, he reflects that it is more dangerous if he shows weakness, and when the orcs are flustered by an unexpected attack is when he will rescue Disung's party. But the orcs begin killing Disung's group members in a weird ritual, and witnessing this brutal scene, Sungwoo's group hesitates. The boss gains a power buff from the sacrifices and unleashes Breath of Abyss on Sungwoo's party, plunging them into confusion while rapidly draining their mana. The boss, now revealed as a high-ranking dark shaman orc chief, makes his full appearance. Hanho quickly drinks a potion to heal his status effects and offers it to Sungwoo. But Sungwoo tells him to take care of Jisoo as he is unaffected by the Breath of Abyss. Sungwoo wonders what the Breath of Abyss is as it is so refreshing for him, and his mana skyrockets to 4,000, thanks to its effects. Additionally, the Breath of Abyss temporarily boosts Sungwoo's stats, allowing him to summon up to 50 minions simultaneously. Sungwoo tells the boss that he does not know what he did to him, but he will need to ask him to teach it to him. Meanwhile, as the boss, taken aback by this unexpected turn of events, is visibly confused, Jisoo and Hanho prepare to attack the boss, saying it will be the three of them just like on the rooftop. But Sungwoo stops them, saying it will be different from then, and he resurrects all the dead bodies in the room. This action creates a massive army of minions, granting Sungwoo significant synergies due to the large number of minions wielding similar weapons. Overflowing with power, Sungwoo prepares to unleash the full potential of his necromancer abilities and show the true power of death. As the orc skeleton resurrection is completed, the boss, a magician orc chief, smashes many of Sungwoo's skeletons, but it's futile as they continuously revive. Sungwoo's physical form temporarily changes, and he asks the boss if he now gets the kind of situation he is in currently, and no matter how much he struggles, there is something he cannot avoid, and that is death. This intimidates the boss, and he attempts to flee, but the escape routes are blocked by Sungwoo's skeletons, and Sungwoo calls him a stupid orc for running from death when there is no such thing. In a final desperate charge towards Sungwoo, the boss meets his end when Righty decapitates him with a clean slash. Sungwoo earns 1055 gold for defeating the orc chief, and Righty's rank increases to level 3, along with improvements to his defense and commander traits. As Sungwoo goes through Righty's subordinates list on the system, Hanho notices an item emerging from the boss's mouth. Sungwoo tries to pick it up, but a system notification shows him that it is an artifact with a devil trait, depending on the owner, and he will have to sacrifice a lot of things to get rid of the trait. Despite the risks, Sungwoo accepts the item, reasoning that it aligns with his necromancer class. He acquires the legendary ranked Devil's Bloodstone Orb, which grants the devil attribute. This item allows the user to steal 2% of the enemy's mana during a fight, and when the enemy's mana depletes, it will begin leeching their physical strength. As the effects of the Breath of Abyss fade, Sungwoo returns to his normal state. Sungwoo and his team step out of the room, and the other students cheer for them as they emerge victorious. Some students who got scared after Disung's group got killed says they did not fight because they did not want to cause Sungwoo any trouble, but they will help in the future. Sungwoo is unconcerned as he reasons that he did not need others, and since he do not know what it looks like outside the campus, it is better to be involved with less people. They all move to the school entrance and the seal is broken. A student asks if it is all right for them to leave, but another points out that it might be better than staying in the school. As the students leave the school, some tries to follow Sungwoo as they feel they will be safe with him. Meanwhile, the outside world is in chaos, much like the campus, and it occurs to Hanho that if the rest of the world is in the same situation, his parents might not be safe. Jong-soo arrives in a bus and tells Sungwoo to hop in. He explains that the road in the area sucks, but they think riding the bus will be safer than walking. He says he is a retired army driver and he knows the location of the nearby military unit, so they should drive together. Sungwoo refuses, saying he has somewhere to go, but it is a lie. Jong-soo then calls out to the other students that they should board the bus, and he brought 2 buses so everyone can fit in. As Jong-soo leaves with the students wishing Sungwoo good luck, Hanho asks Jisoo where her house is, and she says she used to live in the school dorm. She asks Sungwoo if she can stay with him and he agrees. Hanho then says he do not have to ask Sungwoo, and Sungwoo jokingly tells Hanho he'll allow him to stay if he sacrifices one of his arms to maximize synergy with his one-armed skeleton. Righty. Before anything happens, Jisoo interrupts, pushing them to the ground and saying they should duck. It turns out that there are huge monsters flying around. Jong-soo also stopped the bus quickly, and a student timidly says Tithae should be moving quickly. But Jong-soo corrects him that if everyone will be in danger if they move, as the monsters are chasing only the buses that are moving. They realizes that these monsters are dragons as they attack a moving bus and kills everyone inside. As Sungwoo and his companions witness the horrifying scene, he reasons that he is not strong enough, but he can get stronger. He then tells his group that from now on, they will not avoid monsters, but they will hunt them down to grow stronger. He explains that they should not be satisfied with just adapting, so they need to change from hunting easy prey to more difficult ones. With their determined face, Sungwoo reflects that humanity will dominate the earth, and that is because they can control it. With that, Sungwoo and his party prepare to embark on their next hunt, and the system notifies them that they have completed the tutorial.